Hey, Don Coben with ColDesi and the Compress IUV 600S here. Today we're going to be printing on cell phone cases. So we're going to show you a couple things and we're going to walk over to the software and get started with that. What we've done here is we started out and we actually printed out rectangles all over the bed for our representative of our 15 cell phone cases. Then we've actually come in here and just laid these cases in. This is something I would do if I was not going to do a large run continually on with these. Otherwise, I'd build a jig. But if you just need to do a moderate size run, one-time type of thing, this is the best way to do it, especially cell phone cases, because they're in so many different sizes and shapes. So let's run over to the software and let me show you how we did this. This is our Compress UV design software. We've set up in here the rectangles that represent the rectangles I just showed you printed out on the bed, and they represent where each one of our cell phone cases are. We've actually set up a two-layer print here. This would be the actual outlines, and then we're going to drop our graphic files on top of these. So when we turn on the second layer, you'll see the second layer displayed now. This represents we're going to do 3 columns of different art graphics on each of these rows, these columns of cell phones. And what we did initially is we actually have a button here that we can click. If we click on the outline layer, we're going to see we've got it set right now to show layer, but it's also going to show print on or off. We've turned the print off on that layer now that we're going to send over the graphic layer, which has been turned on to print. So what we're going to do is we're going to send this from the Compress Designer software over to our Compress RIP software. And as it comes up, we're going to tell it it's going to our production layer. We'll tell it OK. And it's actually going to send this over to our production layer directly from the designer. As you can see it loading up here, and it comes up over in our production designer. And the way we had it set up was actually to print it based on the frame that we had in the software. And so when we brought it over, everything was relative to that 0, point, as you can see up here in the top corner of our design side on the right. On the left side, you can see we have the name of the file, have a couple other things, the dimensions of our bed. But most importantly, we have job costing. This entire job, which is representative of 15 different images, right, is 93.18 cents. So if I do my math right, that's a little bit over 6 cents for each one of these graphics. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get ready. I'm going to go ahead and load the bed up. I'm going to jump back over to the video of the printer and show you what we're doing here. All right, before we hit print over on our software we just showed you, we're going to show you how we would handle loading this. We already loaded the bed, but before I send these in, I want to make sure that I move them underneath. There's actually a light system, laser, whatever you want to call it right here that checks the printhead height. If I hit this button here, it says up. If I bring it up until I actually hit with the beam the object, it'll hit red and it's going to drop it down to the right height. Once I've done that, I hit the load button, and as I load this, it's actually going to check all these other cell phone cases as it goes across. I'm going to be cognizant of the fact of if there's any radical changes here in height. There might be some slight variations. I'm not worried if I see some slight variations of it. So now we're loaded up. It's telling me it's ready for us to print. So we're going to go ahead and send the job over right now. All right, as you can see, the printer is starting to run here. We sent this over. This is what we call our production mode, which is a bidirectional, which means we're printing both directions, left and right, as we advance the bed. And it's a bidirectional 720 by 720 DPI print, which what we find for the most part is excellent for this type of printing that we're doing. There's no reason to get carried away and do deeper than that unless you have some really high detail, especially on something like cell phone cases. So that's what we're doing right now is we're printing those out. And man, these are flying through. We're already about 25% of the way through. We're into our second row of phones already. Okay, as you can see, we got them printing right here, right now. And you'll notice there's a little bit of overspray here. That's intentional. It's not a big deal, guys. These beds are made out of silicone. They're easy to clean up. That's why we print on them and to do our outlines. But that way we're getting a nice full wrap. You see we're actually coming around the edges of the cell phone case. Again, 96 cents to print 15 of these. If we get crazy, we call it 7 cents a piece. You can see why it's so profitable to print on to cell phone cases. And you can do custom, and it's going to cost you about the same. Just about done here. We're about halfway through the last cell phone case. The cool thing about this that we don't think about all the time is, oh my, we can pick these up. These are dry, and as you can see right there, the quality of the image that we're being able to print here. The upside too is if I were doing production, I would probably build a jig for these. Short run, I would do something like this. But this means if I had a jig, I could be picking these up and reloading the next series of cell phone cases onto this so we were ready to go. As soon as it ejects, I'm only repopulating the last row or two, whichever it takes to get it done. But man, look at that quality. And by the way, less than 7 cents to print that. How high quality is that? What can you charge your customers for that kind of embellishment? See a couple more here. This would be our standard, looks like a wood grain. So that would be printing on custom cell phone cases using the Compress IUV 600S, printing it out of our design that we'd set up in our Compress Designer software using the Compress RIP, printing out for less than 7 cents a piece. We were able to generate these. I didn't run our timer on this, but I don't even think this whole video has run us 6 or 7 minutes total of real work time. Great high profit opportunity with your printer, and just another way that you can make money with the Compress IUV 600S.